Hi and welcome to a new tutorial, and I'm really trying with this black paper and light, but I'm just getting, I don't know if you can see it over in this area. No matter what I do, lights I turn off, I've got a light thing there, it just is casting that shadow. And so I'm hoping, really hoping you can see, because I am using black paper. I have to use black paper. I'm waiting for the new Graphic 45 St. Nicholas Christmas to come, and this is going to be the album that I'm creating with it. So I did want to get started on it because I know you're not going to want to wait either. For this album, I am going bigger. This is going to be 8-inch pages by 9-inch long. I wanted something a little bit bigger. And so I started by cutting my pages at 9.5 by 9. Now let me show you how I'm scoring this, because I am turning it because I want my scoring to all be the same. I want, you know, the divot and then the raised edge on the back. Like I said, let me bring it down. I apologize. It is black paper and it's really hard. So I'm going to score 1/2 inch. Then I'm scoring again at 1/2 inch, and again on now the 9-inch side 1/2 inch. So you're going to have a long score. So you're going to have 3 sides. Let me tell you why. When I make albums this big, and I'm really starting, let's get you back in, to not really like the mats that go in between. Sometimes they're nice, but when you're building these bigger albums, not only one, does it take a lot of paper, but also sometimes there's so many flaps and different things on the album that it's really heavy, and they do tend to get stuck. So I am going to show you how I close. I've got a new way to close up my ends. Now, I'm not by any means one of those crafters that will say, I'm not, you know, I didn't create this. Everybody creates with paper, but this is, I've never seen it done this way, and I have looked and looked. So if someone else out there has been using this, then awesome. But I did not take it from anyone, anything, anywhere. So I just want to share that. Some of the page designs, you know, you're going to see everywhere, and I love sharing it with you because I hope it's something new, and I hope you really love this album. So we'll get started. Enough of the small print there. So I have 9.5 by 9. We've already done our scoring, and the tops are going to be 8 inches by 9 inches long. So after you have all 5 of these scored, excuse me, what I'm doing is I'm going to miter these corners, almost like when we do our pockets. And like I said, I'm going to not only be closing the ends with this, I'm using it to close the ends so that it's a nice finish like this. So you have a nice finish. Let me get them over here. There's my top score and there's my middle score. And because I wanted to close this, I don't want to just glue my pages together like I've done, because this gives it a lot nicer of a finish. But if I don't want to close that, then I'm also going to be able to use this for attaching some flaps and some other things that we're going to possibly do in the album. We're not going to do anything with that. It's going to just stay like that, but it will always be on your right hand side because your hinge is going to be on the left. For me, especially with this big of an album, it is easier to leave this open until I'm done, because I need to be able to put my hand through to put it on my hinge. That is one reason I won't be closing this. So I'm going to use my art glitter glue, And again, we're going to take our top, like I always do, and I'm going to put it down. And I'm going to make sure from top, side to side, there's nothing hanging over, and that it's not too long, because you don't want to go over that score mark. Now mine is just a tiny bit, so I'm going to trim those up. Just taking a tiny bit off so I have a much better fit. Now you can use your score tape. Like I said, I've been having really good luck with the art glue. I've had no problems. I used it in my retro album, and I believe one album before it, and it just really has held well. I will use score tape though on the cover when I do the chipboard. Make sure no glue is coming out. Burnish that down, make sure nothing is stuck anywhere where it's not supposed to be, the glue. Now I cut 5 pages for this album. Now see, we'll be able to put our hand through like normal, but at the end what we're going to do, if we have not hooked any other flaps on here, now we're going to put that down and close it. Now we have a finished edge. You can also, and I did this on one of my other pages and it worked just as well. I also brought, oh, let me tell you, it worked just as well, but I had to put it down because the paper. So you can actually bring this over and then you have a completely finished edge. So you'll be able to do this either way, and then you're going to be able to mat. Now that's the thing. If you do it this way, when you go to put it on your hinge, you can't put your hand through there because you've already, well for me, because I will already have my page matted. So that's what that will look like. So there's our first page. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim off the next one. And then you should have your scoring half, half, and half. Let's go ahead and burnish up our edges. I think you're going to really like this album. It's going to be a fun one. Okay, over we go. Even though I did trim this, I just want to double check again. Trim just a hair more. page 2. Now, if you need to, you can go ahead if you're more comfortable while we're working on this. So you can just put it inside. Just going to trim my page. And I've already done my scoring on all 3 sides. Got glue on my board from when I was scraping it off. Bigger pages, there we go. A little trickier to work with sometimes. And I know black can be a little more challenging to see, so I will try and make sure when we're doing our flaps, pockets and things that you'll be able, that I'll get up closer if I need to in the camera. I can't get a straight line today. Okay. Now, as you can see, it doesn't quite go all the way over to the edge, and that's okay. Don't worry, you're going to be covering that with your pattern paper. And I would much rather, to be honest with you, that it was a hair short like it is. It's just a hair. You probably can't even see it. The one thing is, I did notice mine is just a tiny bit, so I'm going to trim it on my cutter. What I love about my professional doll cutter, I can go through many layers. So we have 3 of our pages. So now you just need to go on and make 2 more of your pages. For page number 1, it's going to be our very first page. Like I said, there's not an album to show you, so we're going to have a pocket that goes this way because this is going to be closed. Bring this down. Then we're going to have a waterfall with a pocket over to the left. So you'll need one 12 by 12 inch piece of paper. You're going to cut it first at 7 inches because that's where you're going to get this 5-inch piece. Then you're going to cut it at 9 inches. So we're going to start our page with a pocket. Now we're going to score it 1/2, 1/2, and 1/2. Now, being that this is a Christmas album, let me get my edge. I'm going to add a decorative edge to this one. So I've got my scoring done, and now I'm just going to punch that out. And this is my loud punch. I'm very sorry if it doesn't come across extremely loud. I'm not worried about that edge. Because we're going to be turning it. Now, another thing I really like about this punch, it's a Martha Stewart. This is a great one if you want to decide to take ribbon through those holes. Plus, it just really looks festive. Okay, I'm just going to actually cut this straight across because we're going to cut that off anyway. So now we can do our 3 sides. And I am, one reason I'm doing my pockets, I'm not just laying them down like I've tried some of the other methods. My paper's not here yet. When you do it and you're just attaching your sides, you want to be able to mount your page first, but since I'm still waiting for the new Graphic 45 Christmas, I don't want to do that. So I want to make sure now my pocket is going to match side to side. Looks good. Plus we want to have a lot of room in this album. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut those corners. I'm taking them down pretty sharp. Miter these just like we did in making our pages. So this will come together very nice. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on this corner. Hold that down for a minute. I do need to trim that right where it, there we go. Oops. Not quite as rounded as that side, so I'm just going to round it a little bit as I can. And again, I'll just put the glue there and we'll let it dry for a second. Like I said, I've been very happy how this glue's worked. Now remember, this is your side that is not the hinge side, and I've tucked mine. So I'm going to turn mine this way to put it down. Now with the glue, try and get as close to that edge as possible. Hopefully without going over, and we'll get it all around. And I am holding my page up to keep it from getting glue everywhere. Like I said, you know me from watching all my videos these last couple of years. I'm a score pile person, or a score tape, but glitter glue has really sold me, and it's held really well on my last 2 albums. Still love my score tape, but I can really go a lot further with one little 2-ounce bottle. Or is it 4? No, they're 2-ounce bottles. With 8-ounce refills, I can go a long way. And of course, this does dry fast, so work fast. You'll have to work fast, but you won't. It's not going to come up, and it's doing really well with the weather. Okay, so now we have the 5-inch piece, and we're going to want to cut this. I know this is such a bigger album. There we go. So I want this to be the full size, so I'm going to cut this down to 8, and I'm going to put let me show you. I'm going to see if this will help the red. I know black isn't the easiest thing to see. Now one thing, you want to make sure it's perfect. You don't want anything to hang over. And this is going to be our waterfall. Like I said, the trick is getting it so it's exact with no hangover. And just trim it a tiny bit at a time until you get it to where you like it. This is also going to be another pocket. Okay, so now we have that, and let's get our waterfall pieces now cut. Okay, for the waterfall, I changed my base. I cut it at 4 instead of 5. So this is 4 by 8. Now, when you originally cut the pages, you should have these 4-inch pieces. This is one reason I figured we need to use these up. So I took my 4-inch strip pieces and I cut them into 6.5, and I cut 3 of those. So you're going to need 3 of the 6.5 by 4, and then you're going to score along the 6.5-inch edge at 1/2. The reason I did that is I got to thinking, wait a minute, the ephemera cards that come with Graphic 45 are 4 by 6, and then I just have to barely trim on all the edges and it will fit perfectly. Now I do want to go ahead, let me put that aside, and I want to punch the bottom, and I love this punch. That's all it is. It's really cool. What I did is I marked with my pen, because that's what I did on a test piece of paper right there, and that's where every one of my 4-inch waterfalls need to go, so that they will be the same, because I want them, of course, to have the same bottom, and I don't want to put them through a die cut machine, because you know me. I just love my punches. Now, this piece, I'm going to do the same thing too. I want my base piece. So you can use any border punch you want. And what I do is I go in and I put my very first one. So if you're ever wondering, how on earth can I use one of the bigger ones? I use this grid here. If you notice, your punches all have, well, not all of them. This bigger one does not, but I will still mark it. But this one is a good one for the grid, because I'll put it in and then I count from each side. Okay, this is just a scrap piece. Then what I do is I mark it. I'll even use a permanent marker because it'll come off eventually. Then you can punch. And these are fun. I actually put them in my cutter. Then I'll just go from side to side. And then I get a really cute little edge on my waterfall. And that's all you have to do if you just want that middle, that darn black, it's hard. If you just want that middle look. And then because you mark it on here with a permanent marker, then you know what your next one needs to be at. Oh, you know what? I think, let me see something. I was busy with my border punch. No, that's not one of them, is it? Oh, you know what I did? Yeah, you guessed it. I think I punched I punched on my waterfall. Good thing we have plenty of, okay. And I want to lay this down, and I want to double check to make sure it looks good. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting it on my score pal here on the outside. And it was, am I doing 4? I am. We're doing 4, not 3. So we need to punch this. I do need this 4th one. So it's 4 of the 6.5 by 4-inch waterfalls. I got busy talking. Now I'm going to take this piece. I'm going to start at this edge. Line that up there. Line it up on my page. That glue off there. I have a feeling I got too much glue, but I really like this glue because it doesn't leave a really shiny mark. And then if you find you've gone over this edge just a little bit, just trim it and miter it in to the waterfall itself. Okay, oops, turn it backwards. Let me double check. We're fine. So I'm going to leave that over where I'm using the glue. Now here's the issue. This is going to be one of those pages where I don't have the paper during this part of the video, so we'll have to go back and I'll have to do that when the paper gets here. Once again, I'm just going to trim that off. Looks like I got some of these just a little too wide. And probably nobody would notice. It would just drive me nuts. And I know it may seem funny, I'm using black, but when I saw the paper at the Salt Lake show back here at the beginning of July, I just knew it had to have the black. It looks, I think it's going to look great with it. I can't wait to get the paper here to put it together. So actually, here I am talking, but by the time I finish the video and I get the rest of it put together, I should have the paper, so we will be good. Okay, so now let me grab another piece so you can see. I did get some glue there. I need to get that off. So that's what the waterfall is going to look like. And again, I'll do the same thing when I go to mat it and cut. I'll mark my punch. Now, this is also going to be a pocket, and then we need to make a cover because I do want a flip down cover. So I'm just going to grab another 4-inch piece that I have. What I'm doing is I'm deciding where I want it. I want room for there to be a magnet. So see, here's the end of my first, and this is going up pretty high. And this is actually, this was the 8-inch piece I'd cut. So it's 8 inches by 4. I'm just going to set it down where I think it looks good. Okay, throw it in the, what I did, and I just basically moved it. So mine's going to be scored at 1.5. So mine's the 8 by 1.5. Now I'm going to turn that around since I scored it that way. Bring that to the back. And yes, that's probably overkill on the back piece. You don't have to have that much, but it doesn't hurt also either. Now, once we get our pattern paper and get this down, this waterfall is actually going to become a pocket. I am messy with glue. And then I'm going to want a large magnet. I have to get another package. Good thing I went to the owner's house today and picked up some more large magnets. Okay, looks like I took this off of another project. Make sure they're going to, oh, perfect, be the same. Go sideways here. So you're going to make sure that this is going to, you know, give you plenty of room where your paper isn't going to show. And on this, I definitely need score tape because it's been used. I must have taken it off of a different project. Clean up my glue mess. Oh, I have coffee. I apologize. I just jiggled everything and spilt some coffee. There we go. Might as well drink it while we're at it. Okay, now we have a nice closure. And let me get our page here. Now, when I get the paper, I will mat this and I will just cut it straight to there. Then our waterfall will go down like so, but we're only going to attach it on 3 sides. And just making sure everything looks good. So it will be attached. For some reason it's not over, but it just looks like it's hanging over to me. So it's not, it's just me. So we will be able to, there we go. Now we're going to be able to use this as a pocket. We'll have this nice big pocket and we'll make probably a little book to go in there. And then we have pockets here. And with Christmas, we have to have a lot of. Then this is going to fold down and there's our waterfall. So we can just set this, well, I'll set it aside until we finish this back side because if we don't, excuse me, it's going to be really bulky and difficult to work on. So now on this side, I'm going to have a flap that comes this way. We're going to have a smaller flap here, and then this is going to be my room for tags and pockets. So over here, I want to have a 6.5 by 6 inch flap. Or actually, because we, to be honest with you, because we cut that other one at 6.5, and I don't want to waste the other side of the paper for my waterfall. So this is going to be 5.5 by 6. Okay. Now on my 6 inch side is where I'm going to score it 1/2 inch. And let's get our other side cut. Now you should have a scrap or two, probably from one of your waterfalls possibly. No, it looks like we're going to be able to use one of those 4-inch pieces. We are. So let's go with 4-inch, with one of our 4-inch pieces. See, I'm trying to also work this out for our closure without using 2 different magnets. Here's what I decided. There are going to be 2 magnets. We're going to do a 3.5. So I took one of the 4-inch pieces and cut it at 3.5 by 6. I really don't want to overlap. I want more of a layout look. And I went with this original one that we did at 6 by 5.5. And I went with the 5.5 so we didn't have to cut another sheet of paper because I had cut it from my 6.5 inch by 4 inch waterfall. So here on the 6 inch side, we're going to score it 1/2. Now on this side, on the 6 inch side, we're going to score it 1/2. Now, I need to check this bigger flap, I might be trimming it down, but I'm going to trim it down about 1/4 inch. So it's going to go to 5. When I folded this in and I cut it at 5 1/4. Christmas, so I'm going to add a decorative edge. And again, if you want to add your edge, you can use, of course, your, die cut, anything you like. And I really need to get better at centering that and paying more attention so I don't get that open one on the end. And I should do that by starting on the edge. I know. I tell myself that all the time. Okay. We're working on quite a larger page here. So now I want to sorry, I'm just thinking for a moment. I decided not to do the edge. Sorry, but I'm back. And so I grabbed my others. Mine is going to be a little different in size, only because I used the other scrap and I didn't want to cut. So, and I'm going to be using 2 small magnets. And you can measure or, just look and decide what looks good to you. So I'm putting mine about 1 3/8 inch down from the top. Again, you can decide where you want yours. I'm not mitering any of the corners because we're not going top to bottom on the page, and so it'll hide just fine underneath the pattern paper. I'm really excited to get the Graphic 45 Christmas paper because they've done the 12 by 12 patterns and solids. So I will be using the pattern and solids to map most of my pages. It's really going to stretch the pattern paper. So I was really glad they did that. Let's clean that up. Now I am going to wait for the placement of the magnets because we do have another pocket that's going on here. Now I'm turning mine upside down to determine where I want this. And it looks like there's going to be about 1/4 inch from this side is where I'm going. So I'm taking it 1/4 inch in. Side. Okay. Like I said, we'll wait for a minute on the placement of the magnets. Okay. This is a Christmas album, so we want to get some space in there. Lots of pictures. So this piece is 6 inches by, I'm going to cut it down to 7 3/4. So it will sit just about in the middle. And I'm going to score it on the 6-inch side at 1/2. Okay, now, again, I'm just eyeballing it from side to side. And where this 1/2 inch is a pretty good indicator that you don't want your flap to go over it. We don't have to miter those corners again because they'll be all under the paper. Up like that, and then down. Now, one thing that I want to look for here, and this is what I was hoping for. So where this flap is, it looks like I'm going to be able to double duty a magnet. And then it's, the only problem is this one. Let me see, I've got that a little bit off. I don't think I'll be able to double duty it. So, you know, I think I'm going to have, nope, I can't have a tie either. So I'll have to, yeah, I'll just use a small magnet here and a large magnet on this one. Okay, I hit, I did one of my famous, I didn't hit the play button. So what I decided on was the large magnets. And I am going to have to use 2. Because of the placement, but I really wanted this placement because there's going to be pockets in here. So I have the 2 magnets here. This one will go down. Now this one will come up, and the one over here on the flap will hold that down. So that was one other thing I wanted to show you. You can either, whoops, okay, before you put your magnets down. My goal is I want this look. If you don't want that magnet, you can have this flap down. This can go on top and this can go over. You will only need the 1 set of magnets and you will get this look, which is also a really cool look. Or you can have this look. So totally up to you if you want to save your magnet or you want to make a swing tab maybe to go here after we put down our pattern paper. You know, that's totally up to you. So now this is where our waterfall is going to be. So I'm going to put this over inside here, and there's our page 1 front and back. For the front of page 2, you're going to want one piece that is 6.5 by 7.5. Then we have another piece that's 8 by 6. Yeah. We're going to score on this 8-inch side at 1/2. And then on this piece, on the 6.5-inch side, we're going to score at 1/2. So you have 1/2 over on this left-hand side. That darn mark right there. Now the deal with this little guy, let me see. Okay, he's going to flip up. but we also want it to flip open as a book. Okay, so now on this one, I am going to miter these corners. This is going to be a really good page where I'm planning on using like the whole cover sheet of the 8x8, and I'll have a small pocket on the inside, but I will be able to showcase the whole 8x8 sheet by just trimming the top and bottom of the Graphic 45 signature page. All right, let's just fold that over. Match that top to bottom. Whoops. Now, it looks like on mine I did get it off a little bit, so I'm going to trim it at my trimmer. Trim the two together so they're perfectly even. And it looks like I didn't quite get it. There we go. Okay, now if you remember, we have this piece here, and it's going to go on the inside. So you can see when making these bigger albums, it really does take a lot more paper, so it's kind of nice to not have that excess there. So this is going to open as a book, but then it's also going to flip up. And I'm going to have it right there on the edge. And I had originally thought that I wanted to bring like a 4x6 across here. And to be honest with you, I'm still trying to decide, and I think I will. So I have a piece that I'm going to cut at 4 1/4 wide. Now this one I cut at 6 3/4. And I'll tell you why. I wanted it to go in a little bit longer, and I will be matting it so the 4x6 card will still fit. But I want to be able to just use one set of magnets. I don't want to have to use that, you know, third magnet. So it's kind of a saber here. So we're going to score here on the 6 3/4 inch side at 1/2. And we're going to wait to put this down. We're going to put our booklet down first, and I have to turn mine upside down. I want to make sure, yeah, I'm getting it on the right side because I want it just about on that edge. I'm leaving probably just a smidgen. See, and that glue will come off, but it's going to be covered with pattern paper. So I'm not going to worry about scraping that off. And I'm going to go ahead and miter, whoops, the corner that's going to be on the outside of my book, or you can do them both. Now without folded over, and placing it down, even with the top. Now that will open. This will flip up. And this will be over here. And I have plenty of room in the center and plenty of room from this edge for my magnet. Now I'm going to want to the large. Whoops, did I get two? Oh, I did. 2 pluses. We need a plus and a negative. Oh, okay. All right, I am going to put it on the flap first. Then I'll open the booklet. And then I'm going to have to, there we go to the side. And that should be heavy enough now. Oh yeah, even when I mat, that's going to be heavy enough to hold this down. You can see where you're going to have tons of room for your Christmas. A lot of storytelling in this album. And then I'm going to be able to use the whole 8x8 cover sheet on here. I really like that. So I'll probably have a small pocket here, but I'll put it on after. So we'll do that as part of our decorating. So we can go on to the back side. Our next, the back of the page, this one. I'm telling you, this album's going to be loaded. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to have a triple pocket. We're going to have a small one at the bottom. And then we're going to have 2 more as it graduates up. So these pieces are 4x10. I have 2 of the 4x10s. This was one of the extras, so it's 3x10. And it was left over from when we cut our pages. What we're going to do on these is just score on each end at 1/2 of an inch. And this is the triple pockets like I've done in some of my other albums. And then we're going to have a flap that comes over the front. And for the flap that's going to come down, I cut a piece that is 8x8. So we're going to score 1/2 of an inch. I'm going to start by making sure I don't have my page upside down, that my little extra flaps in there. Okay, so I can turn it over. I always like to make sure. Let's go ahead and just fold up our score marks. Because I'm not going to be scoring the bottom of these, we don't want the extra bulk. And there'll be plenty of room because I'll be putting tags from the line in here. As you know, Graphic 45 has a lot of tags. So again, we're going to make sure everything matches on the sides. And we can put these down because we'll be able to slide our paper. Now our first one is going to go here in the center. Basically, we have to make sure it's down far enough that it's hidden. And then we have the top one. So basically that one's going to go there. We may be cutting this. And then this one will overlap. and then our bottom one. So let me see, make sure everything's on the side. No, I don't think I will. I don't think I'll cut it. I'm going to leave it. So I'll tell you how far from the top. So my first one is going down 1 1/4 inch. So this first is going to be 1 1/4 inch from the top. And what I'm going to do, it's going to be hard for you to see. I don't have a white. So I'm going to mark. I don't know if you can see. You might be able to. That's where I know my pocket needs to come down. And then paper will slide in on top of it. So we don't need to worry about our corners. We don't need to worry about the bottom because we're going to adhere that down. Now, a couple of things before I do that. If you would like to have a mat that goes all the way through, you're not going to want to seal this off. I want there to be different size tags. So I'm going to go ahead and seal all of mine off. Just something a little different on this one. So we're going to go on there, and I'm going to put a little bit along this edge. Actually, I should have done that first and held that down. It'll go down. Okay. Now, 1 1/4 inches from the top, and I'm making sure, though I'm just matching it down here with my pencil mark. Make sure I have new glue. Okay, I'm just going to burnish everything down. And then, see, I will be putting the pattern paper down to where my pocket stops. Make sure it's completely down. Okay. Now, my next one is going to sit right there. Now, the third one. So here we go. We need to have this down here so we can do a little rearranging. So if you want it to look pretty, there you go, asymmetrical basically. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to mark where my next one needs to go. Can you see that pencil mark? So that's where mine's going to go. And actually the bottom will be, again, 1 1/4 inch now from this bottom. And when I put my pattern paper straight down, I'm not going to go all the way. So I'm not worried about this being closed off because I'm not putting paper when we put our pattern paper. I'll show you. It's just going to go about halfway down because no one really looks in your pockets that far down. Well, and try and not get it over the edge like I just did. Okay, so I'm going to match it now with my bottom where I put my mark. Oh, I totally got that on crooked, of course. Okay, let me work fast here so my glue will re-stick. Wow. There we go. I may have to re-glue a little bit. Mine just is not wanting to cooperate on that side. These are the same size. It was just me. Let me just go back up here with the glue. Back. Like I said, this dries fast, so you have to work pretty fast. And good thing my mess will be underneath here. I don't know what my problem was. Just one of those moments, I guess. There we go. Now, this will go right onto the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and close that edge. And I'll do the same here. Hold that for just a minute. This time, I'm just going to do one side. Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm really not with it tonight. Okay. I even put my pocket on upside down. It's a good thing it came off so quick. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, let's get with, oh my goodness. Get with the program. What on earth? You know, it's kind of like the toddler that decides to act naughty when you're on the phone or the camera. Okay, let's give that just a minute. I'm going to go along the bottom here. Back on my glue area. There we go. I got the 3 pockets on. Now what I'll be doing is I have this this new border die, and I'll be using it more with my pattern paper. It's not new, but it's a Heartfelt Creations. It's one I haven't used, and it's their border die. So I don't have it right now to show you, but I'm going to be using it on my pockets instead of lace. Now our 8x8 piece. So we already scored it the 1/2 inch. This is not the full length, and again, I won't need to miter those corners, but it's going to fit over the top of our pockets. So you should, okay, this is 8 inches, our page is 9. So if you want, so I'll use my scoreboard here, and I know at the the 1/2 inch will give me exactly 1/2 inch on each side. That's why I love my scoreboard and score mat. And I do want to use a magnet. Okay, so we have our mat down. Now we need to have our magnet. And here's what I'm doing. I'm checking to make sure there's going to be enough room. There is. Whoops. It's a pretty good size album. So we're going to put that down, double check, because I want quite a bit of room, so it will be hidden. after this is matted, then I'm going to be putting a little pocket in here. So there is the front and back of, there's page 1, page 2, and then, well, I just call that 1, and then back, page 2, front and back. Okay, let's move on to page 3. Okay, for the front of this page, I'm going with we're going to have just a big pocket for the front. And we're going to score this on all 3 sides. So this is 5.5 wide by 10. And I'm going to score along the bottom and then on each side. Because I figured I need a big pocket, maybe to put some of the Christmas cards that I want to save in this pocket, but I want them to show because usually, you know, Christmas cards are really pretty. So we're going to bring up the bottom score line. Now what I'm going to do, there we go. Bring that together and double check that everything fits. There we go. Try and get everything in the camera. So we're going to miter our corner. Make sure I went a little deeper. Okay. Score there, score there. So I'm going to just add a little adhesive there in that corner. I'm going to hold that down for a minute. Oh. It's wanting to grab. I knew I cut that just a little short. There we go. I'm just going to get on the edge. I did that one too. Got a little run back just with my scissors. It's okay. We're okay. Oh, on this, oh no, it's going to be underneath paper, so I'm not going to miter those corners. Adhesive working fast here. I cannot stay on the page tonight for anything. Okay, let's line that up, keeping our paper up until we know we're lined up. High pressure. Just clean off my tip. There we go. Okay, now on this side, so I want to do, let me show you, like a gatefold, I believe that comes around here. And I'm going to grab an album that I did this in, so I'll be right back. Okay, I decided I just want the partial pocket. I did this in one of my other albums. So, actually I did on the back of, I think one of my Christmas albums last year. So I have a 9-inch piece, and it is 5 inches wide. And I went ahead because I was looking at this, so I scored it at a 1/2 inch. Then I have a 5.5 inch piece by 9.5. So we are going to score this one 1/2 inch down the long end. Then we're going to turn it on each side and score this one at 1/2. Now, here's where you might want to go ahead and cut this, if you want to have, because this is going to be a pocket, you can take a circle, you can take something like this, and if I, let me see, I'm going to be using this, so I do want to somewhat measure. So it looks like I'm going to cut this at about the 2-inch mark, which I have a 2 right here too on my scoreboard. So I know if I put my punch right there on that 2, and this is going to end up to be 8 inches. So I want to make sure, and it's not. So I'm going to move it over, and the thing is, I need to remember where I've put this. Actually, that's better. So see, the score mat is really great because of these grids here. So yeah, that would be too much. And you can use your envelope punch board and actually cut out a different kind of a notch if you'd like, or any one of your punches. But basically, I'm looking for the center, and I don't want to hold you guys up because I'm not feeling confident about this. So I'm going to wait, because I can always punch it when it's on. So we'll wait. You know how you just have that feeling you're not going to get it right? So let's just go ahead and make our pocket. So we're going to fold these 3 up. This is just going to be it's going to look like a pocket on the page, but actually it'll open. Now I'm taking my scored edge right here, I'm pushing it to the back, because we want to make sure that this is going to fit on top. And I know, I think I'm going to just, I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay, it looks like it's going to fit. Now what I'm going to do is, I want it to be down just a hair. I'm going to cut off a 1/2 inch. So I'm putting it in here, and I knew it was 5 1/2, so I'm going to go with 5 1/4. I decided I want to see what the 1/4 inch will give me. I don't want it to be too open of a pocket, and that way, there we go. It at least lets you know that it's a pocket, and we'll be able to pull the tag out. So I took a 1/4 inch off. Okay. Just make sure everything's edge to edge. And then we're going to miter the corners. I didn't get those too wild and crazy this time. No, that's much better. Glue there. Sticking that back there so it's not going to stick. Just a touch of it there. And once again, we'll get our adhesive on. Okay, I'm keeping this folded back, my flat piece. Sorry, I did it again. There we go. feel better. So put down there on my corner. Got some glue. And it just slipped. So let's do this again. I'm going to start with this edge only. My pocket, which it will come off, but we're going to cover that anyway. I don't know why all of a sudden it's decided to give me such a hard time. Okay, now we go along the bottom here. And I'm going to go ahead and see my glue mark, so I'm just going to follow right along there and get it where it's not supposed to be. And it's a good thing. See, this is why me and glue, but at least that's going to be covered with pattern paper. I'm really pressing down there, making sure. Now see, we have a nice pocket. And this is our back page. Now you can put it all the way to the bottom. You could put it a little bit in the middle if you like. I'm going down towards the bottom. There's going to be a magnet. Oh, so on the bottom, let me just miter that hair. Nights like this with the glue bottle, I'm thinking I'm going back to score tape. Just kidding. I am so messy tonight. Okay. Now, we went shorter, so it did leave room. You could even do a swing tab, but I don't think it's going to really hold this. So I'm going to use the large magnet. And yes, this album you can see is pretty much full of magnets. It's a doozy. It's nice and big. A lot of memories are going to fit in here. And that's what you want for Christmas. Score tape. Paper's going right there. And then we have room. Actually, I'll be probably doing 2 little booklets, and they're going to hang over. I think that'll be really cute. And then here we'll just have we have room for some big mats, lots of fun mats. And so there is page 3. We're moving right along. Okay, for this page, on the front of page 4, I want to do a, you know, how I've done the fold outs before, but it's going to be just a little bit different. This is going to be somewhat of a gatefold right here. So what I did is I cut these pieces because my page is 9, just hair short of 9 inches. And then again, I cut it just like 4 and, let's see, I want to say 7/8, but just a hair over, because we don't want them to overlap. I just want them to meet. And then these little pieces, I cut 4.5 by 4 1/4, because the length, our page is 9, and we don't want them to touch. We just want them to, you know, come together in the middle. So I'll start with with our 4.5 by 4.25. We're going to score these on the 4.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. This just a hair more. And then on our flaps here, we're going to put it in at the 4.5 inch side. And like I said, it's just barely. I trimmed it so that they would not be touching. And then we'll have time to adjust it. So I'm also going to use a decorative corner punch for this. It's a Martha Stewart one because I want a little more of a decorative corner. I like this one better. So I'm going to first score these, and we're going to lay these down on the page. So we want to make sure that they aren't going to overlap and that they're not going to be too long on the sides, which I feel mine are, so I'm going to trim them. I don't like them right on that edge. So I cut off about 1/16 of an inch. Here's the reason. I don't like them butted right up against where my hinge is. I like it to have just a tiny, tiny bit of breathing room. Because you're going to lose a little tiny bit because of the hinge. Okay, so I'm going to lay this here. It's about where I know it will be attached. And then this one. Now the deal here is we want to make sure, first of all, that there is going to be flip room, that you're going to be able to open each one. Whoops. So I think we're good. And this is the point where if you feel that they're too close together, then you can go ahead and trim a little bit of that off. I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and trim my corners. How do I lose my scissors? Just between, okay, well, I'll use these scissors. Oh my goodness, they're sitting right here, right in front of me. All right, let's just cut those corners off so that underneath our paper, they'll be nice and hidden. I love Cartabella cardstock. That's why I sell at my store. You do have to push down to get that crease. I mean, it's good firm paper. Okay, so I'm going to put the first one down, and I'm going to make sure it's more towards, you know, the opening here, because I know it's about 1/16 of an inch shorter on the hinge side, which is good because that's going to sit down on the hinge, and you don't want your hinge to bend up your flap. So that'll give it opening room. Have you ever gotten it too close, then you put your page down on the hinge and next thing you know it's bent? Yeah, that will help. Okay, after I put these down is when I'm going to do my decorative edges. Oh, we went out of focus. There we go. And I'm going to lay this down now again, and I want to double check it. Because once it's down, I mean, I can cut it even once it's down, but it's kind of nice to just have it down and not have to adjust it. Okay. don't know how I splatter glue. There we go. But I'm pretty good at it. Getting glue here and there. Okay, so there is my cover. Now, I want to go ahead and I'm going to do my edges before I do the inside. So I'm going to just open this up. Put this inside my Martha Stewart punch and give it that decorative edge. You don't have to. You can leave it plain. You can round your corners. You don't have to do anything to them. But being a Christmas album, I wanted to give it a little bit more. Well, I can't grab a hold. And then when I mat it, I'll decide, am I going to, wow, that's a messy one. Am I going to, you know, round the corners then on my papers? So I'll decide. That'll look really nice when it's matted. And I probably will use, I'll just go ahead and round off the decorative paper. So now when we open it, let me show you where these are going to go. These make great little places for journaling. You can put a little wallet, or like I say, these are great little hiding places. And I mentioned this in my retro album. You know those pictures that they think it's so funny to take of mom in the morning when you look terrible and you're just coming down the hall? Yeah, these are called my mom hide spots on the back side. What did, oh, they just don't see. Okay, now we are going to want to do a little bit of measuring here because those are going to fit here. So I like to use my quilting ruler. Lay this down. And the reason I like this quilting ruler, see these lines in here? So they're really great. So I've got a line going right on the top here where my fold is. Add a little bit of weight. Then I know exactly where I'm going to put these. Let me grab that red piece of paper to help you see behind there. There we go. So now I know that, see, that piece needs to match this top. This piece needs to match the top of the ruler, and then they should be even because I've matched this one line and it's laying right on top of the score line. So now you can even add a little more weight. There we go. Add my glue. I'm just going to butt this right up on the edge and up on the edge of my quilting ruler. Black is very hard to see, I know. That edge just a hair. Make sure it's straight, make sure my line, whoops, is still on that where I want it. And I'm just going to hold the ruler with my finger to make sure it's extra tight. And then they're nice and straight, perpendicular and even. So those will be opening like this. And this is going to close for our gatefold. Now, these are fun because you can use magnets. Now, on this one, we could actually use a ribbon and tie it. So, you know, that choice, that's your choice. To use a magnet on this is, I'm not going to be able to grab both pieces, so I am going to be using a ribbon. And I'll wait and put that on until we do the rest of the album, because I won't know what color, I won't know, you know, what page I'm going to put here, but I will have a tie. Now, I could also use a swing tab. And so we'll know more when we decorate. And there's that page. So that's the front. And we'll just turn it on over here. And then we'll do the back side. Remove some of my punches. Okay, we're going to do the belly band on this back page. I'd like to do a belly band, and then I want a flap because I've done the flaps before, and I really like to have my flap come over my belly band because it holds things in. I'm just trying to decide. So I cut my belly band, and it was just a scrap, so it's 3 by 9 for the belly band. It's going to be a wider belly band. And I'm trying to decide here with the magnet where I want this to hit. So I am going to cut this. So right now I have this at 8. We need it to be 8 inches long because the page is 8 inches by 7.5. But I'm going to cut this down to, double check here. Sorry guys. I'm going to cut it down to 7. So 7 by 8. Move the belly band. That's what we'll do. Sorry, well, you know me. I don't write things down. I just do them. So on the 7-inch side, we're going to score it 1/2 inch. Belly band, 1/2 inch on each of the ends. Now I'm debating. I was going to do a decorative edge, I think, on my belly band, which I want to do. I'm going to use this one. It's one I know that is still available at Joann's. So I'm going to punch, oh, this one's the hard one. I'm going to actually punch both sides. And here it's okay if we're not quite on the edge because we're going to fold that one edge down. And this one, yeah, it's a little bit of a booger. I think it's one that's just getting worn out because I use it a lot when I do my corset bindings, and I use this instead of the corset loops to keep it paper. And I think it's getting a lot of wear and tear. Definitely is. I noticed they were on sale today when I ran into Joann's to pick up some fabric. And I should have grabbed another one. Sorry, this isn't, you should have done this one off camera so you didn't have to watch, because it's decided to be really, really stubborn. I don't think we'll use that on any more of this album. I think it's just about had it. Okay, but we've got our belly band. And because we're going to be putting paper down through there, I'm not worried about my edges. And actually, it's going to be really cute. Again, let's make sure everything matches top and bottom. Now, before I put it down, I want to go ahead and hold up this score line and double check our flap, not only for, you know, length, top and bottom again, so you don't have anything sticking over, but where do you want this to hit? And the whole purpose of this is that we can put a lot of tags in here, and yet this is going to keep them from falling out. And it looks like that. At the 1 1/8 mark is where I'm going to put my belly band. So I did notice I'm going to bring my score mark in just a hair. It is a little longer than I think I like. Yeah, that's better. So I have this here. I'm so sorry about, there we go. The way that light's coming through. So I'm going to put it here on the 1 1/8 inch mark. And we'll start with the top. Kind of go around those holes. And I can also use my scoreboard mat because it has basically the same markings. I noticed I do want to open this. I have some glue coming through the holes. And that's okay. I just don't want it to glue my belly band down though. So go around those little holes if you're using a punch. I'll still have to clean it up. Here's what we'll do. We'll take that pocket piece. Because there, I don't want it to, I don't want that to be glued down. And this art glitter glue, let me tell you, once it's down, I mean, you've seen me, I can get it up, but then that's about it. Once it's down, it's down. Okay, now, if it wasn't such a pain on camera, I would go ahead and punch my edges. But because it's being a pain, I don't want to do that too. And I think what I'll do is my corner punch on this one. Messy little punch at those holes. Okay, edges, I mean, I do want to go ahead and miter these. To the side. Some little black dots still there from when I punched that. This will need a magnet closure. Again, I could do a tie closure, but I want to do like photo mats on top of there, so I don't want to, or maybe some of the cut aparts. So I do want a magnet closure. And I am going to put it down on here because I don't want it over there. There's just not going to be enough room. So I'm putting it down here first. Score tape, sticky side, and close. And there you have this page. We'll have our hinge here, photo mat here, and that will close and keep our pictures from falling out. And there we have, isn't that cute? I really, really like doing those fold out pages. Page 4 is done. Okay, let's move on to the front of page 5. This next one is a really fun waterfall. I did this in a wedding album, and then I was asked to do it in a tutorial because it was just, I didn't do a tutorial. It was a wedding album for my neighbor's son who got married. It's a double waterfall. So we're going to put it in here. So we're going to have a double waterfall on this page, just like we made the other waterfall. But this one, you'll need 2 7-inch by 4-inch pieces of cardstock. And the same thing, we're going to need the 6 by 4-inch. So you'll need 4 for each waterfall. But the nice thing is, if you cut your 12 by 12 in 4s, then you're going to get, well, in 6, and then in 4, you'll get most of your waterfalls. So we're going to score now, and these are the ones, okay, these are the ones I cut earlier. Put those aside. We're going to score on the 6-inch side at 1/2. And the reason I'm doing the waterfall longer and bigger in this album is it's a Christmas album. So there's a lot of different pictures. I know our grandkids get, you know, photographs for Christmas. Our family gets photographs. Everybody does. And you have those Christmas cards that you want to cut off the pictures. So now we're just going to score these up, and we'll put together our waterfalls. And I do have to grab another package of magnets. Have the magnets, so I'm going to start now excuse me, with my first 4, making sure before I put them down that everything's cut correctly. Like I said, this is just like the first one we made. So this book is going to have 3 waterfalls in it. So there's going to be tons and tons of room for pictures. And this is one reason I wanted to go with the 9-inch page, so that I could put the 2 waterfalls. You can put it on smaller pages, but this way it just, you have a better size, because your 4 by 6, you can put your 3 by 5 pictures, or, you know, crop them down. Whoops. I'll do that. Smash that edge. There we go. This was the last one. Now, if you cut these little flaps at 4.5, you're going to get, of course, more. But then you will have, you know, your smaller pictures. We're not going to be able to put this down because I do have to mat the page first. And then you can also decide How do you want your waterfall? Are you going to tie them? Personally, I'm going to use a large magnet here, and then I'll put a large magnet back here on the very back, and that's going to hold it down. So let me show you how that's done. So I take the first one, or you can do a band that comes up and around, but for this one, I want to do it this way. I want to just leave it open. I don't want a band covering that at all. So this will need to come back here. Whoops, turn it over so it will grab a hold down here. There we go. So once it grabs a hold, then I just turn it over, remove the backing, push it down, and then you can see how it does work through all layers to hold your waterfall together. And your waterfall should come even. If it doesn't, just put it in your paper trimmer and trim it. And then we'll add these 4. And this, I'll be using the 6x6 pads, probably from Graphic 45, to line these. And then inside, what's going to be nice is the Spectrum paper by Authentique that I use in a lot of my albums. It's going to match. So we're going to have some matching cardstock that will help stretch out our line even further than that 12 by 12 patterns and solids that Graphic 45 is making. And I knew I got that one off. Okay. Now, so you can even stop. You can stop with 3 and it'll look like there's 4. Now on this one, it looks like I do need to trim it just a hair, just a tiny bit. Down. This one is off a little. Hair a bit more off the bottom. Magnets. Now I'm getting excited. I really can't wait for the paper to get here. This is going to be, I think, a really fun album. back before I get it down there. Now, once I have this matted, I will put my waterfalls down. Still need to trim that. I can't seem to get that right, but we will do that later. Then we'll have our double waterfall. Now, another thing we can do is actually turn this into a pocket. So we may do that. Let's put our waterfall aside so we can do the back. We're doing great. So we're going to do the back side of page 5. Hi, I'm furious. I did it again. Oh my gosh. You guys, I am sorry, but let me show you what I did and didn't record. So what we're going to do, what you're going to do right now is, I'm going to give you the dimensions to make this. But if you've been following along, this isn't hard. You're going to cut your first one at 8 inches. Sorry, let me go back. 8 inches by 7 inches. Okay. Then I want you to go along this 8-inch side and score this at 1/2 inch. Your next one will be 6 inches long and 7.5 inches wide. And then you're going to put this down on the 6.5 inch side and score it at 1/2. Then you'll repeat, but the next one is going to be a 5 inches by 7 inches. So over here on the 5-inch side, I want you to score at 1/2 inch. I can't believe it. I looked over and I'm like, there is no recording. Okay, what you're going to do first, after you score your biggest piece, you're going to make sure there's a 1/2 inch on each side. I just used my Score Pal mat here and did a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Your next piece will go on, and again, you will have about a 1/4 inch because it's a 1/2 inch difference, so 1/4 inch on each side. And then your top one sits on top. You just smear the glue on and our adhesive, and then you've got another 1/4 inch. So it looks like this. Then I took my magnet on the first flap and on the base of the page. I again let it catch, then I put it down. Now I took a 3.5 by 12 inch piece. I scored this at 4 and 8.5 inches. So when it folds up like this, then it's going to be a booklet that's going to sit on top of my cascading pages after we mat it, and it will open like this. And I'm not sure yet on my closure. I don't really want to use another magnet, but I might tie this one, which I'll put it across the back, and then we'll tie it on the top, but we can't do that until I mat the booklet. I'm so sorry. So that was the back of page 5. So we have our double waterfall, which I put over here, and we are done with our page construction. So now we just need to go back in, and actually those might, I'll just set those there. We need to go back in now, and we'll make our hinges, and we can make the cover, but I'm not going to put the pages on the hinges until I mat, because I don't like to do that. So what I'm going to do is grab my cardstock so that we can start on our hinges.